Hi, everybody. Can you let me know you can hear me? I'll just go ahead and get started. Um, I guess y'all heard the sad news. If you haven't, quick summary: Bernie announced that he is quitting, suspending his campaign. He says the fight for justice continues. He calls Joe Biden a decent man again. Um, Talks about credible leadership. Donald Trump's the most dangerous president, and that you can still vote for Bernie. You can still vote for him. He's keeping his name on the ballot. And he asks us all to please stay in the fight. So we're going to look through this and kind of break it down a little bit, react to each little part. Honestly, I just got maybe like just a couple minutes of the material that I want to comment on. So let's see if I can play through this. All right, here we go. All right, so apologies for the weak playback. I guess this is my weak internet connection, but he's saying he just announced suspending his campaign, but the fight for justice continues. The fight for justice being electing a guy that got us into the Iraq War, killing 500,000 people, knowingly lied us into war, was Joe Biden was the head of the Foreign Relations Committee. And for 5 years before the Iraq War, he was pushing us to go to war in Iraq, saying that there's no other option. We have to do it. That's insane. And that's not credible leadership. And you're going to hear Bernie talk about credible leadership, how we need credible leadership. And that's why we have to defeat Trump. By running a nominee and supporting a nominee that has proven that he is not credible. Let's go back to the video. Let's play a little more. All right. Again, he called Joe Biden a decent man. Joe Biden, again, lied us into the Iraq War, knowingly lied us into the Iraq War, killing 500,000 people, creating ISIS, thousands of Americans needlessly killed, hundreds of thousands of Iraqis. And he has lied consistently, regularly, about his involvement in the civil rights movement. He's lied about not wanting or not being willing to cut Social Security. Just lied. Bold-faced lied. That's not a very decent man. Also, Bernie talks about justice. The fight for justice continues. Okay, the fight for justice will always continue. It's a never-ending fight. But there is no justice in electing a man who sent us to the Iraq War. Where's the justice in that? You can't reward a man who's done that. Who's poor, disgusting decisions. Decisions that everyone knew was wrong. Not everyone. Most Americans, and certainly every American that was paying attention, certainly every American that was paying attention knew it was wrong. Anybody that looks at it objectively knows the Iraq War was wrong. Anybody who looked at it objectively leading up to the war knew that it was a lie, knew that it was would be a terrible mistake. Bernie knew it. Anybody paying attention knew it. Anybody that looks at it objectively knew it. I remember being in high school. It was a current event. It was a current event that I covered in my high school history class. We did current events. And I remember going up there, in front of the class, saying, the UN weapons inspector, Hans Blix, found no weapons of mass destruction. We shouldn't be going into war. And I just kept... And I was so frustrated. And I was so angry, and I did get riled up. And I noticed the class was not riled up. And I'm like, what's wrong with you guys? Guys, we're going to war over lies. I'm like, you guys, I know school is boring, but you're falling asleep. This is serious stuff. It frustrated me so much. Even my own goddamn teacher, he questioned my sources. It's verifiably true. AP, any outlet, it's verifiable. Hans Blix, the UN weapons inspector, said he had found no weapons of mass destruction. And the professor's asking, he was that fucking, this is a little bit of a, I know I'm going off on a side rant here, but that's how brainwashed people were. My own teacher didn't believe the truth. It's verifiably true, was verifiably true. I had sources. I was able to show that. But he didn't believe me. That's incredible. That's how brainwashed people were. But Joe Biden, the head of the Foreign Relations Committee, he had that information. If some dumbass high school student had that information, the head of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee had that fucking information. And back to Bernie's dropout speech, there's no justice in giving a man who failed the country, failed the world, failed thousands of American soldiers dying needlessly, trillions of dollars in additional unnecessary debt to the military-industrial complex. There's no justice in promoting this failure to the most powerful position in the world. That's insane. There's no justice in that. None. And I'm only focusing on the Iraq War right now. Where's the All right. Any very nice, very decent man. This very decent man. I'll go. Well, let's listen to a little more. All right. All right, that unbelievable. All right. Guys, the argument for Biden is so weak. It's so weak. Bernie Sanders just said that the reason he's going to support Joe Biden is because we need credible leadership. Because right now, we don't have credible leadership, and Donald Trump is, quote, the most dangerous president in American history. Guys, credible leadership. Sending us to the Iraq War was not credible leadership. He has proven himself to not be credible. He has lied to people's faces over and over and over again. The one with the most serious results was, the Iraq War. He's done it with Social Security. He lies to people that he was not willing to cut Social Security, or never said he was willing to cut Social Security. That's just a lie. That's a lie, and he's lied to reporters' faces. Lying about his involvement in the civil rights movement? Guys, that's not a credible person. You can't defeat Donald Trump on an argument of needing a credible leader with someone who is so clearly not credible, who has proven themselves over their entire political career they're not credible. All right. And then he goes on to say the most dangerous president in American history. We need to replace the most dangerous president in American history. I'm not a fan of Trump. He's not credible leadership either. Let's face it. Everyone knows that. Most people know that. But where's the argument? How can you argue? What bothers me so much is that he uses this strong language, and it's not inaccurate, that Donald Trump is a dangerous president and not credible, not a credible leader. All right. Fair argument. But he would never say that about Joe Biden, even though it's proven to be true about Joe Biden as well. And he would never bring that up. And that's what kills me. What's more dangerous? Donald Trump, a lying president who hasn't sent us to a costly, bloody, counterproductive war in the Middle East. He hasn't done that. Maybe he will, but he hasn't done that. Who's more dangerous? Somebody who someone who hasn't sent us to a bloody, costly, counterproductive war? Someone who hasn't lied us into a costly, bloody, counterproductive war? Or someone who already has? Who's more dangerous? You cannot make the argument that Joe Biden is any less dangerous. You can't. That's insane. And it kills me that Bernie couldn't make this goddamn argument earlier. Kills me. And it's because he is friends with Joe Biden. He is friends with Joe Biden. You know what? I'm not one of the many that's going to attack Bernie for, saying, he can be friends, all right? They've been colleagues in the Senate for a long time. But friends don't let friends. If Joe Biden was my friend, I'd be like, no, as a friend, you do not deserve to be president. That's what I would have said on that debate stage. Joe is my friend. Joe, you're my friend. But as a friend, I'm telling you, you can't beat Donald Trump. If we want to beat Donald Trump, you shouldn't be running, because you can't defeat Donald Trump. Joe, you got a history of lying. You got disqualified for the first time you ran for president in '88 because you got exposed as a liar, as a plagiarist, and then you got caught lying about being a plagiarist. You got caught. You're a liar, Joe. You can't defeat a documented liar with a documented liar. These are not little white lies. These are huge lies. There's probably not a bigger liar than Donald Trump, but Joe Biden is a big fucking liar. Speaking of another thing, credible leadership. He talked about credible leadership. He talked about credible leadership because of how Trump's handling coronavirus. How has Joe Biden done any better? How has his leadership any more credible? It's not. It's not. He literally said he did not. So Bernie, he actually has some morals, and he would not do typical voter reach out to get people to go out and vote in the polls because of the danger of coronavirus, the known danger of coronavirus. Joe Biden didn't say that. Joe Biden Joe Biden would not say that, you know what, maybe we shouldn't have elections in Wisconsin because of coronavirus, because people will probably die as a result. He didn't say that. It's so basic. But what kills me even more, what really hurts, and what's really frustrating is that literally, it was at the end of the election yesterday, Biden said, he got asked, and he said, I don't feel good about these elections. I'm paraphrasing now, but he's like, maybe we shouldn't have had the election. Something like that. After people already went out to vote, that's not credible leadership. That's not credible leadership. And of course, I see a fucking Washington Post video, just got that clip of Joe Biden saying, we got to be, I think maybe we should be more careful about people voting. It's like, what? And they totally omit the fact that he didn't say a damn thing before the election? Yesterday in Wisconsin? Not a damn thing. Not a damn thing against it. Not a damn thing against it. In fact, he was neutral. He did get asked about the election yesterday in Wisconsin and coronavirus. He was neutral. It's like, it's up to them. It's up to them. If the Wisconsin Supreme Court wants, to vote or keep the election going, keep people, going out to risk their lives. Okay, it's up to them. That was his response. That was literally his response. But the media is not including that. That's so frustrating. The media is not including that. They're making it seem, Washington Post, I just saw the fucking video, they're making it seem like he actually spoke of concerns about people voting in Wisconsin due to coronavirus, with the coronavirus threat. What? Completely omitted the fact that he was totally neutral leading up to the decision of the Republicans, majority Supreme Court in Wisconsin. It's totally neutral. So that's not credible. How's that? That's not credible leadership. All right. All right. I see some good banter in the comments there. I may address those. I will be answering any super chat questions or reading any comments. People asking about Jimmy Dore. I'll give you my thoughts on Jimmy Dore and his coverage of this. All right, but let's see what the hell else Bernie says. All right, so he said you can still vote for him. All right, still vote for him. He's never he did. All right, and he wants us to stay in the struggle for justice. The struggle for justice to get a proven lying war criminal and promote them to the highest position in the world, the most powerful position in the world. What's the justice in that? Come on, man. Ugh. And he's not a credible leader. All right. So now I'm going to go to the or the live chat and super chat. All right. Enough. All right. We got it, Bernie. We heard it. All right. So, well, yeah, you guys let me know what you think. I'll read some live chat, but what I saw was Jimmy Dore is a fucking idiot, and Jimmy Dore is 100% right. That's what I'm seeing a little bit of in the feed there. So let me give you my thoughts. So I agree that it has been off-putting when Jimmy just totally bashes Bernie. He's very harsh about it. Often, sometimes overly harsh. However, what you guys gotta understand is, and it just became so obvious leading up to this, because so what Jimmy's mindset is, and I believe I agree now more than ever, is that if you have to let politicians, even politicians that you've supported for a long time and that you agree with on most things, you still have to pressure them if you want them to actually follow through. You can't basically, just because Bernie, just take the whole notion that Bernie never really attacked, give a strong argument against Joe Biden. He never gave a strong argument that he was the best to beat to defeat Trump, and Joe Biden was a weak candidate, and he is a weak candidate against Donald Trump. He never made that argument. And so Jimmy and others, not as many as there should be, have been criticizing him for not doing that. I'm criticizing him for not doing that. That was a huge fucking mistake. And if you just never criticize them, I mean, by criticizing, there's a chance you can pressure them into doing the right thing. There's a chance you can embarrass people into doing the right thing. It doesn't always work. Not everybody reacts to that kind of psychology, but you got to try something. And that's certainly one way to go about it. I don't know how else you would go about it. How else do you get Bernie to wake up and actually point out how bad Joe Biden is? So, and then here's the other thing. Bernie Sanders' top advisors. So there are moles in the Bernie Sanders campaign, and they've been feeding the Washington Post and other outlets gossip that hurts the campaign throughout the whole election. And one of the things that came out recently was that even before Bernie announced that he was quitting, his own top advisors were urging him to quit. Guys, so just think about that. So media people like Jimmy Dore and myself, and many other people, whether they're doing it on Twitter, whether they're just talking about it with their family, friends, we were urging Bernie to go after Joe Biden, to fight stronger, to fight harder to fight hard against his Democratic primary opponent. To fight harder. Urging him to fight harder. While Bernie's own top advisors were urging him to quit. Who is more damaging and destructive to the effort of Bernie Sanders winning 2020? Who is more damaging? The people who were urging him to go harder? Rightly so. Now, not all criticism of Bernie is fair. We know that from the media, even from Jimmy Dore. I'm sure he's there's times I watch like, that's a big overstatement. But the bottom line is, you got urging people to go harder when objectively they should have. They should have. Versus urging him to quit, which is what Bernie Sanders' own campaign, own top aides were doing leading up to this. We're doing as soon as he fucking, as soon as it started to look bad. That's pathetic. That's pathetic. That's pathetic. That's, ugh. All right, let's see. We got a super chat. Matt, love your videos. What do you think about a third party? Do you think it is Bernie's friendship is why he didn't attack Biden? And why he won't try an independent run? Good questions. Thank you, Michael. So, what do I think about a third party? Well, I mean, that might be... I don't know what else you do at this point. I mean, if you want... hey, people, you do what you want to do. If you want to vote Joe Biden, if you really think Joe Biden is worth voting for, okay. If you think Donald Trump is the better candidate, I understand the argument for both. There's this, but again, the difference is so minuscule. It's so minuscule. And also, I do feel, hey, Joe Rogan was right. I was talking about this before Joe Rogan talked about it in his podcast. I imagine many of us were. The fact that Joe Biden, it appears, yeah, he's not really all there. He doesn't appear to have any original ideas other than all he says is, we got to get rid of Trump. We got to get rid of Trump. I'd be doing a better job. But he never says how. So if that's, and if his mind, I mean, if he's, I never thought, let's face it, I never thought there would be a Dem nom that actually made Donald Trump sound more coherent. But Joe Biden makes Donald Trump sound coherent. That's crazy. And it's also concerning. Who wants a president? That doesn't seem like they're all there. Because then you don't know who's really running the show. It's whoever's, running Joe Biden is going to be running the show. And we know we know the special interests are running Joe Biden. But back to the question, third party run, I mean, sure, vote for I don't know what else to do. I mean, that is the only option if you can't vote Biden or Trump. So, I mean, sure. Now, what do I think about? I mean, it's a huge uphill battle, and it's not gonna. I mean, they're not gonna win this election, but hey, you got to start somewhere. Might be worth it. I mean, certainly worth it if you know you can't vote Biden or Trump. Do you think? Michael also asks, do you think it is Bernie's friendship is why he didn't attack Biden? I think that's a huge part of it, yeah. I mean, it's been reported Bernie and Jane were good friends. They considered Biden a good friend. And that's too bad. That's too bad because good friends don't let friends fucking, destroy the destroy the goddamn friends don't let friends run for president after they got us into the Iraq War. You don't do that. A good friend wouldn't do that. A good friend would be like, you know what? Maybe you should disqualify yourself after your poor decisions and lying, after you lied to every single American and your poor decisions led us into Iraq, killing 500,000 Iraqis, several thousand Americans, and led to the creation of ISIS. Maybe, as a friend, maybe you shouldn't be running for president. Maybe you're not so credible. Maybe your leadership isn't so credible. Maybe you're dangerous. Joe, you're dangerous. As a friend, I'm telling you, you're dangerous. Joe, maybe you're a decent guy when it's just us hanging out, when you're with your grandkids. Okay, maybe you're a decent guy, but you're a decent guy, Joe. But you are dangerous. Giving you any power in government is dangerous. Okay, Joe, you shouldn't do this. It's like talking to a friend who's about to, who's drunk, wants to get in a car. It's like, no, man, no. Yeah. Hey, no, I don't hate you. You're a decent guy, but you are a danger. You should not be getting in the car. Joe, you should not be running for president. Joe, and you got to tell the whole audience. Tell the whole audience. No, we can't let Joe get in that car and run for president. We can't do that. He's messed up right now. And he just can't do that. That's dangerous. That would be endangering. That's endangering people's lives. We can't do that. It would also be if the friend had already gotten in multiple accidents. It's probably if the friend had already, as a result of drunk driving, killed 500,000 people already. Be like, no, Joe. You can't do that. Everybody, don't let Joe do this. This is nuts. This is insanity. But Bernie wouldn't do that. That's what a good friend would do. That's what a friend would do. God. Yes, Costello, friends don't let friends destroy the world. Michael also asked why won't he try an independent run? Well, I mean, it's the same reason he's not staying in the race. And the same reason he didn't attack Joe Biden is because he's buddies with the Democratic Party. He is buddies with Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. Yeah. Because, guys, listen up. Yes, Bernie stood up and talked out very strongly against the fossil fuel industry, the military-industrial complex, the big pharma industry, the terrible health insurance industry. He spoke out against all this really strong. But he wouldn't speak out against their corporate tool. Joe Biden is the corporate tool of all these industries, all these powerful industries that Bernie calls out on the regular. He'll call out these industries on the regular, but he won't call out their tool. That was a fatal mistake. Fatal mistake. All right, I'm fishing for the rest of the super chats. All right, Costello. I believe that's how you say it, right, Costello? Friends. Oh, you already said that. Friends don't let friends destroy the world. That's correct. John Min says Dems have no interest in winning. Consultant money flows more freely when they are then opposition party. Well, yeah. It's true that Well, I mean, yeah, let's look at it. Guys, so John brings up the point that it's a fact, many Democrats, let's see, did he say, well, he's talking about the consultant money, Dems. Okay, certainly many Democrats would rather have a Donald Trump as president than Bernie Sanders. Some of them have suggested it. It's not a question. Why is that? Because they like the Trump policy. Their only issue with Trump is that he's not a decent man. That's their only issue. That's really their only issue. And that, he's the big bad guy. We want that position. We're the same on so many levels, but that's the lame argument that people are making. What else can I say about that? I do have more I want to say about that. But unfortunately, I'm going a little Joe Biden now in my mind. I'm trying to figure out what I was going to say. I will get back to that one. Dems have no interest in winning. Oh, now I remember. So one great example of how the Democrats I really do prefer a Trump presidency, even though most of them will never admit it. It's the perfect example. And that is the DNC's Rules Committee. Tom Perez appointed a woman who was on the board of Democrats for Israel. I think that's what it's called. Democratic Majority for Israel. Democratic Majority for Israel is a big lobbying effort to get, basically it's just a huge pro-Israel lobbying PAC. So they had a super PAC that directly funded anti-Bernie Sanders attack ads. Okay? So this is somebody in the Democrat, at the head of the DNC, has a leadership position in the DNC. At the same time, she's on the board of a pro-Israel lobby that is pouring how many millions? About $1 million. It was like $800,000 to $1 million in anti-Bernie Sanders ads. I'm going to say that one more time. People in the DNC leadership, the Democratic Party leadership, on the chair of their committees, literally, at the same time, is on the board of an institution pouring $1 million into anti-Bernie Sanders attack ads. What do those attack ads say? That Bernie's not electable. That's all it said. Just over and over and over again, he can't beat Trump, he's not electable. That's what people cared about, and Bernie failed to make that argument. That he is electable, and Biden is not. But, so, just to show you, so this Democratic Majority for Israel, they love Donald Trump's policy on Israel. It's the most radical in modern history. Donald Trump moved the embassy, the American embassy, into Israel. What else? He's brushing shoulders constantly with Benjamin Netanyahu, Sheldon Adelson, who is the biggest pro-Israel billionaire financing campaigns today. So you couldn't get more pro-Israel. We've never had more pro-Israel policy from a president than Donald Trump. So you can be damn sure that the Democratic Majority for Israel prefers Donald Trump to a Democrat. There's no question. It's just it's just objectively true. Kinky says, I feel your pain and the pain of the whole world today. It's devastating. So, what's your next step, Matt? Well, good question. But honestly, I've made a lot of Bernie Sanders videos, but luckily for me, I am interested in a lot of other topics as well. One of the topics that got me very interested in the Bernie Sanders campaign was the whole issue of media manipulation and propaganda in the media, which is so common. And how just media in general, media literacy, that's a big issue, and that's something I will cover in future videos. I would like to cover in future videos. I've worked on a documentary. I put in a few weeks on a new documentary that's airing April 27th, currently set to air April 27th on Vice. It's called Bernie Blackout. I'm one of a few producers on that, so hopefully that turns out well. While I'm not going to be making videos about Bernie Sanders anymore, I can absolutely continue to make videos about Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Now they're both pathetic. That might be fun. I might have some fun doing that. So I might have to do that. I might have to have some fun and make some fun of Joe Biden and Donald Trump. In addition to some media literacy projects. What else? Thank you for that question and super chat, Kinky. Whew. Yes, on Jukin says, the sad thing is Bernie would have been far more aggressive against Trump than he was against Biden, and therein lies the problem. Therein lies the problem. Hell, he was already more aggressive versus Trump than the actual opponent of his in the primary. While he was in the primary against Joe Biden, he was more aggressive against Trump. Way more aggressive, even though so much he could apply to Biden. Bernie Sanders was totally comfortable calling Donald Trump a liar, as he should be, but he never would call Joe Biden a liar, even when Joe Biden repeatedly lied to his goddamn face. Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders was put under Joe Biden's spell. I don't know what the fuck. Schmoppy says there's no shortage of trash to let the public aware of. There's a lot of issues and topics and information that's worth informing the public on, yes. If that's what you're saying. Mary Dom says, thank you, Matt, for all your hard work. They were great. Thanks, Mary. I really feel like if the Bernie Sanders campaign had shared some of my videos, or just copied some of them, could have been very different. The strategy. So, yeah, I guess that's what we've been ripping on mostly is Bernie Sanders' strategy and not and just weakness in his inability to really make a strong case against his opponent, Joe Biden. So another thing I may do is I had an interesting when I was invited to the campaign headquarters to pitch them ideas, when we were talking about me working with them, I got a hint of how just poor their strategy was. And I may write an article about that experience because it was pretty concerning. And I mean, it was when I was offered the job, I mean, it's like it was a dream job. But originally, after meeting with the creative digital communications director, I was like, wow, literally everything he said was the stupidest strategy I'd ever heard. Literally everything. And, I mean, it's just hard to believe. Like, I could tell you wouldn't even believe it. But so I might write an article about their fails. I mean, guys, well, I'll talk about it a little now, maybe, if anybody wants to hear about it. B. Jones says, attacking Biden would have backfired. He was crucified just for highlighting Joe's record. Well, there you go. That you're making. They're going to crucify him no matter what. They're going to crucify him no matter what. That's what you got to understand. And that's something I've like. It's just so painfully clear now, and it became so painfully clear like throughout this election. Like they're going to attack the people who run this country, and the Democratic Party leadership. They have no morals at all. I mean, they've literally slandered every Bernie Sanders supporter in the world as a racist, bigoted, misogynist, sexist, rude, angry troll. Like that's terrible. And I don't know if you guys know, but there has been a study. There's finally been a study. There's never been any evidence to support that narrative, the Bernie bro narrative. Never any evidence, no data to ever support that narrative other than anecdotes. Anecdotes. And there are anecdotes of people being rude no matter who the fuck they support. There's rude-ass people supporting every candidate. But anyway, in case you weren't familiar, maybe you guys already heard about this, but some Harvard grad student did a study where he analyzed about 80 million tweets. And the data showed that 2% of the Bernie Sanders supporters on Twitter were very rude. But the data showed that 2% of the followers and supporters of every other candidate were just as fucking rude and terrible. So how about that? Thank you, Denise Hill. Denise or Denise? Denise? Thank you. Marco says, have you thought about preparing material like Jimmy does? Just talking is less painful than Steph's question reading, but you could do much better. Just talking. Huh. Oh, I mean, Marco, are you saying you just rather me talk instead of read questions? I don't know. but Marco, yeah, this setup right here, it is akin to Jimmy Dore and most online news, certainly in our network of the Bernie Sanders supporters. But I don't know if it's certainly easier to do these videos. It's a lot easier to do these videos than to edit all these like intricate videos. And also YouTube's algorithm rewards. They will promote videos based on watch time. So any videos I make like this gets more watch time than these short, tightly knit videos that's kind of my specialty. So I do wonder, and I have wondered if I just did these kind of videos, if that would help me out with the YouTube algorithm. I know it would in some way, but then maybe people... But also, am I really offering... It would help out with the algorithm, but at the same time, me doing this kind of setup, is that really offering anything special when so many other people are doing it too? I mean, sure, I can give you my own opinion. Everybody's opinion is a little unique, but I don't know if it's really offering... I'd like to do it because it's fairly easy and less time consuming than the other stuff. But I do enjoy the other stuff, and I think that's my specialty. So I'll probably do both. Marco said, "Oh yeah, sure." Yeah, Marco wants more structure in the streams, and sure, yeah, it's the other shows. I mean, they've got teams working with them typically, so it is a little more difficult to do that solo. But let's see. Rock Lee says, "Do your specialty, but sprinkle in the opinion stuff." Yeah, that's what I've been doing. I think I'll probably continue that. Voltaire says maybe do daily live streams. I thought about it, but maybe I would like try it for a month or something. And I know I would get better if I did it daily for a month. So that's one reason to consider that. But if I did that every day, then I wouldn't have time to make the videos that are, particularly good, I think. Also wondering, like, should I even publish this video? Because, yeah, it is... I started out structured, but now I'm just chatting. And maybe I should just make this private and chop off the top of it and publish that. A lot of channels do that. They just keep the full live stream for patrons, and then just chop off little bits for their channel to stay public on their channel. Maybe I'll do that. What do you guys think? Thank you, King Kong. King Kong is voting Orf 2020. Thank you, Arnold. Sticks Pickles says Bernie wants his cake and to eat it. Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. I mean, he wants to revolutionize the Democratic Party, but he also wants to be friends with the Democratic Party and its establishment. And it's just, you can't really do that. Those are totally opposed to each other, those two things. NBW Doughboy asks, does this hurt worse than 2016? Good question. I think it does, because I know Bernie could have won. With the right strategy, Bernie could have won. I have no doubt in my mind. A number of things he did wrong. We talked about the poor strategy, not aggressively attacking Joe Biden. Honestly, as a video guy, I could critique the hell out of their video comms department. I mean, I'll just fire a few shots right now. I mean, most of the videos, it's just they just plop in, people's faces and crowds and the most cliche music ever, and then put over like Bernie's speeches that we've all heard a bajillion times. That's one of the videos they've produced over and over and over again, which is I mean, you're not going to get, all it does is just circle jerk. All those videos have done, there are some exceptions that I think are very good, but most of those videos that Bernie's campaign has put out, they're just circle jerk videos. Like it's just going to, people who already like Bernie are going to like those videos. And maybe even that's not true, because I already like Bernie and I didn't like a lot of those videos because they're just so boring. It just doesn't add anything. It doesn't. It's just so cliche. I mean, another formula that Bernie's team produced a lot was just pick an activist that nobody's heard of, and just have them talk, and then you just intercut. Again, just seemingly with like no thought. It's just, here's a bunch of pretty faces, diverse pretty faces, and some crowds, and some cliche music. I mean, it's just that over and over and over again. And I remember when I met at headquarters, and the head of the whole digital director, he said his strategy was to keep the soft base excited. And to me, I never ever thought of that when I was making my videos. My mission was never to like just keep people who already like Bernie liking Bernie. No. My mission was always like, how can I wake up people who don't like Bernie? How can we expand the base? So literally the creative director's strategy was to try to keep people excited, not to get more people excited. Literally, he told me that. He said, and in my head, I'm just like, well, if you want to keep your fans excited, what's more exciting than expanding the base? So, wow. I mean, I got so many stories about, like, it's just, what else? Maybe I'll tell you guys about, so John agrees about the videos, yeah. Bernie would have won on Orf's videos alone. Thank you, Anthony. I'm totally biased, so I'll agree with you there. However, obviously I'm totally biased, and let's face it, the Dems coming together in backing Joe Biden, that was huge. So, but again, it's the strategy that allowed that. If Bernie had been, attacking Joe Biden just like a fraction as aggressively as he would attack Donald Trump for the same stuff, that wouldn't have been as effective because Joe Biden would have been a damaged candidate. He should have been a more damaged candidate. But Bernie didn't deal the damage like he should have. Like Trump's going to. And he didn't have to do it in a Trumpian way. Just straight up, just say, Joe, you lied. You're lying to the American people. He wouldn't do that. Or Joe, you whatever. I've gone into that a lot. Okay. Apparently, Jeremy Chase asked a good question, according to Kinky, but I can't see the question. Oh, and then, the problem of, it's such an easy case to make that Bernie was a better against Donald Trump. It's such an easy case to make, but it didn't make it. Yeah, the video team didn't make it. And that part's not the video team's fault. And again, I don't even blame the video team. I met some of the video team. They're really good, talented people. But the management sucked. I met the manager. He sucked. This should have been, I went in there oh, this could be, the dream job. As soon as I met him, God, I'm not sure I really want to do this. As soon as he told me his strategy and how he managed, good Lord. He wanted to edit, so you all know the Rising Up video. They wanted to completely edit the Rising Up video. They're like, so, what if you joined up, what would the first thing you want to be? And I was like, all right, I want to do X, Y, I want to do this video, that video, this video, this video. I had all these ideas for new videos, and I did make a lot of them on my own with no resources. I did. God, imagine what I could have done with some resources and a team. Oh, my fucking God. Anyway, so, and then he goes, well, what I would have you do, he goes, I would have you cut out the part with Trevor Noah. I'd have you cut out the part with Anand. I'd have you cut out the really emotional part with the woman crying about her son not being able to afford insulin in the United States. I'm not making that up. And it's also in fucking emails. I can prove it. That actually happened. That's what they wanted. So not only was that dumb. This is a complete waste of time. And what's especially crazy is that this video had already outperformed the video that he had just oversaw. They poured $1 million into this. My video came out just after their video. Their official Bernie TV ad came out, which was promoted like hell on all the YouTube channels, promoted like hell. They poured $1 million into it. My video got about 10 times as many views without spending a goddamn cent. So it's already proven to be incredibly effective, and he wanted to edit the whole fucking thing up. That's insane. What a waste of time. What a stupid... That's just insane. God. And his great idea was okay, you know what? Let's cut up every part of it. So he wanted to do just every section of that. He wanted to make it its own thing. It's good Lord, dude, what makes it effective is because it's all together. Because it's all flowing together. That's what makes it, effective. You take take every bit apart and make it its own video. That's how it loses its strength. It loses its power. Its power comes from you building on one media lie after one media lie after one media lie after the other. That's what made it powerful. The head of digital communications, the creative director for the Bernie Sanders campaign, he was literally trying, everything I said is true. He wanted to completely change that. He wanted to cut it up into different videos. What are you... And I heard so much trash about that guy's management from the other video people. Yay, Kinky says, love you and your work, Matt. I didn't lose my job, so I can afford a little for your next project. Thanks so much, Kinky. Thank you so much. That actually brings up a question. Should I do a freaking GoFundMe for a project? because the Patreon thing, it's just so, I don't know. It's just not very much. It's growing, or it has grown, goes up and down, and it's really encouraging to get everyone's support on there. But maybe a GoFundMe, would that be a better idea? Like, because seeing how the Patreon goes up and down, and it doesn't really, I don't know, it's doesn't increase dramatically ever really. Maybe a GoFundMe. I don't know. Anyway, thank you so much, Kinky. More on why they would rather be an opposition party. Dems have no interest in governing. Example, reauthorization of AUMF giving Trump exclusive war powers. Authorization to use military. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that's John Min. Again, and yeah, so why they would rather be an opposition party, Dems have no interest in. Well, what you say is true. Yeah, the Dems, well, they're a fake opposition party. Because, like you said, they reauthorized the AUMF giving Trump exclusive war powers. They did this with the Patriot Act, on and on and on. So, and in one of my videos, I hit on how, some of those military budgets, all the Democrats supported it. Every Democratic senator supported one of those bills. Almost everyone, but one in particular. Every single Democratic senator supported it. Supported the crazy increase in the military budget. At the same time, they're saying this guy is so crazy and dangerous. And they vote to give him more power. And yeah, you're right. They've done it over and over again. Patriot Act and on and on. Mr. Justice says maybe you could produce a video to pressure Bernie to run third party. As long as he supports senile warmongering Joe, will veto Medicare for All Joe. I suspect his role was to suppress the progressive voter. Love your work. Thank you, Mr. Justice. I made a couple of videos on third parties in 2016, and but we know Bernie's not going to run third party. It's reported he does not return. He won't even return Ralph Nader's phone call. Like, he's not interested in third party run because he doesn't want to be Ralph Nader. He's afraid. He doesn't want the Democratic Party to not like him. That's what it seems like. He's afraid. He wants to be friends with them. He doesn't want them to not like him, even though they'll never really like him. At least the Democratic Party establishment media will never like him, and certainly Hillary Clinton and that team will never like him. So it just seems like it's just sad that he won't stand up, that he didn't stand up and make a strong argument against Joe Biden, who literally represents all those industries that he said he had the guts to stand up against. And he did stand up against those industries and speak out against those industries, but he didn't have the guts to aggressively call out the candidate who most represented all of those powers. Texas Progressive says, I vote you make a Nina Turner video. Wait, I vote you being Nina Turner's video manager in 2024. Cool. That would be cool. That'd be cool. Nina, she's got some spirit. I don't think she's. I don't know. I would like to think that she would not hold back like the senator, like Sanders has. Let's see. In fact, Nina did write an article calling out Joe Biden in in his history not being in his history and how his history is not so spectacular for black people, and Bernie kind of he wouldn't back it. He didn't back it. Didn't back what she said. Come on, man. But then again, that's the flaw. That's the fatal flaw right there. That's the fatal flaw. And let's not pretend. So that's Bernie's fatal flaw. And then, there's so many there was very many outside challenges and forces as well, of course, like the media, all the establishment candidates merging together. But still, I still believe there was that one most fatal flaw was Bernie's strategy itself there. And unlike other people, I don't want to make it seem like, Bernie didn't attack Joe Biden at all. Didn't call him out at all. He did, but he didn't do it aggressively. And the biggest thing, I know I'm sounding like a broken record. Keep your record player on it. But he did not make a strong argument. In fact, he didn't make the argument that Biden was weak versus Donald Trump. Even though we could all see it. All he had to do was everyone would be behind him if he said that. Nobody could deny that. Well, the media would try to deny it, but the real voters, they would go with them on that. It'd be one of those moments where Donald Trump said something like politically incorrect, as he's attacking his opponents. It was like a no-no. You're not supposed to say that, and yet the whole crowd like erupts in applause. That's what would have happened. Now, whether it would have happened inside the audience in the debates where those tickets the DNC is selling tickets for like thousands of dollars, maybe not, but surely at home and the audience outside that debate station, certainly at least they would be applauding like mad. I don't know who Shahid Buttar is, but if they're an option to replace Nancy Pelosi, it sounds good already. Tinky says, yes, George Galloway did a GoFundMe for his new movie, Who Killed Kelly, and he had full funding in 3 weeks. Dun, dun. All right, guys. Any last questions? What you got for me, guys? What you got? This is like my new job now. I told you I'm done with that documentary. What you got? What you got? Hit me up. Hit me up. Anybody who hates Bernie needs psychological help. Yeah. I mean, we could talk about some other strategy issues. Some people are saying the whole, using the term socialist, democratic socialist. Well, that's the other thing. He never did use the term socialist per se, but democratic socialist. was a big issue. Now, the way I look at that, well, I recognize that we all have to recognize that socialism is a divisive term in America. It's a very divisive term. So the way I look at it is I don't think you could have Bernie not using the term democratic socialism. I don't know if it would have been a great strategy because he's been using that all his career up to this point, and so for him to change that, it would make it seem like he's trying to hide something nefarious. So I don't necessarily think that he should have switched up that rhetoric. However, going forward, and in general, if you're trying to convince people of Medicare for all, free college, using the term, it's just unnecessary. It's unnecessarily divisive to use the term to talk about socialism, because even though technically, it's socialism, it's also technically, factually, those policies exist in capitalist countries. So, personally, I don't identify as socialist. I don't identify as capitalist. I just think those are just divisive terms when most people will agree with the basics of both ideologies. And so by bringing either term up, you're just being unnecessarily divisive. That's my opinion. So maybe going forward, I if you're trying to convince people of progressive policies, I just think it's unnecessary. It's not a good strategy to talk about socialism. Talk about the policy, but why bring up socialism? Why bring up that potential wedge? Why do that? Well, what I say is, I would support a public option or a single payer system, not because I'm a socialist, but because blood-sucking private insurance companies can go fuck themselves. And I think many people agree with that. Probably more people than would identify as socialist. Let's see. We've got... Okay. Texas Progressive says, in my opinion, by using the term, he inoculated the American public with it and normalized it more. Here in Texas, more Dems had a more favorable view of socialism versus capitalism. All right. No, I think that's fair. I think it's probably true. It's probably true. And like I said, I would not have advised Bernie to go back on that, since it's worked for him his entire career, and for him to flip-flop on that, using that terminology, it would have made it look like he was trying to hide something. And part of his appeal is that he's consistent and authentic. So, I wouldn't advise Bernie to change that rhetoric, but I still would. My own... Just dropped a bunch of... or spilled a bunch of water. But, but personally, I don't use the term. I don't like to argue for policy using the terms capitalism and socialism unless I will use the term capitalism if I know I'm arguing or with somebody who identifies as a capitalist. Then you use it. Likewise, socialism, sure. If someone identifies with socialism, agrees with the ideology, likes that ideology, then you can use that rhetoric. But if you're talking, speaking widely and generally to large audiences, it just seems audiences where you don't know where they fit, where they identify, it seems unnecessary and seems like bad strategy. But you're right. I think he did do a good job of socialism has been villainized in America, and he did a good job of making it a less scary for some people, for sure. explaining what it means in the form of, at least in the form of Medicare for all, free public college, etc. Ooh, I'm curious what you guys think about UBI, because as much as I don't like Joe Biden, therefore was not happy when Yang endorsed Joe Biden. However, I think you guys got to admit, right now, if we had UBI, everyone would be doing better. Everything would be better with the UBI. I think in general, but certainly in this crisis, and for people to not be, I just don't get how people are against UBI. Just especially people who are supposedly want a progressive revolution and progress. Just seems obvious to me. Like right now, I got a brother who's applying for the small business loans that were, supposedly that were supposed to be enabled, and with this bailout, I don't know if you call it stimulus, with this stimulus package, and it's just such a fucking hassle. It would just be so much easier. It makes so much more sense to just give everybody $1,000 a month. Like, why again with this unemployment? Come on, why? Do you know how much? What a fucking hassle to do all this fucking paperwork. I mean, it's dozens and dozens of pages of work every fucking month. Like, and you don't know if you're gonna get through all this bullshit. Like, at the end of the day, you don't even know if you're gonna get through the bullshit. They make it so unnecessarily hard, and it's all about like keeping power. And really, if you're progressive, you should be wanting to give power to the people. And there's no better, simpler way to do that than UBI, in my opinion. And that's one of my favorite subjects to argue about because I really feel that way. Sarah X Harkonnen says, "What hope is left? Trump wins 2020, now confirmed." I agree, but at the same time, we should have maybe a little bit of. I just want to remind everybody. We can't see the future. I don't think Biden's going to win at all, but who fucking knows? If people are have been convinced that he's such a great nom this far, maybe they'll continue to be convinced. I don't know. I find that hard to believe, considering Donald Trump's going to make damn sure that everybody learns about all the negative things about Joe Biden that we're already familiar with as critics of Joe Biden. So, we'll see. We'll see. Texas Progressive says, "Yeah, I agree. No labels. I don't identify as either capitalist or socialist." Yeah. That's how I am. Because they just mean it's different things to different people. It's just nothing good comes of those. I mean, debating is fun, arguing is fun, but if you're actually trying to convince people of a policy, yeah, those. Why bring up those terms if if it's going to put the other person off? It doesn't make sense. Let's see. Loyal opposition says, you never know. Most of us were wrong in 2016. I agree. And that's why I, want to try to hold on to some humility and say, I really don't know. I don't think Joe Biden's going to win, but I really don't know. I can't see the future. However, you're saying how, look how many people got 2016 wrong. Well, which way did they get it wrong? They got it wrong thinking that the centrist Democrat was going to win, that the establishment boring Democrat was going to beat Donald Trump because Donald Trump's so crazy and so Donald Trump. Well, yeah, that didn't work. So that's actually more evidence. That's more of an argument that Biden's going to lose, in my opinion. But the basic notion that, hey, you never really know. People are wrong. Well, people were wrong last time. People never really know. You think you're certain, but, you can't. It's hard to. Nobody can see the future for sure. Sure, that's true. Jeremy Chase, in response to some of the things I said about UBI, said, $1,000 a month doesn't even pay bills. What do you do for food? Well, no one's saying that you have to live off $1,000 a month. That's just what you get now. That's $1,000 more than you would have right now. That $1,000 more for everyone than they have right now. That's the difference. That is a big difference. It's not saying that everyone only has $1,000 to live on. You can earn more money. So basically you could so everyone's income would increase. There would be some exceptions if people, it depends on the form of UBI, but Yang's form was you would have to opt out of Social Security and other, maybe it wasn't Social Security, but other welfare, like other anti-poverty programs, other benefits. Yeah. All right. Jeremy Chase is certain Biden will lose to Trump. I would bet that Biden loses to Trump for sure. And if anybody wants to take me up on that bet, I'll take that bet. The Freedom House 1984 says, I can see the future. I predict I will take a hit of good weed shortly. Yep, I was correct. The Freedom House, I hope you enjoyed that hit. I can't do weed, guys. I can't do drugs. Like my brain can't take it. It's too weird. It just doesn't, it's not the same. Doesn't react the same as other people. Like, just doesn't work for me. I get paranoid as hell. Ha. Yeah, Tulsi, that was disappointing, wasn't it? That was disappointing. Although, the interesting thing about that Tulsi endorsement of Biden is it was reported, that she may have, that the Bernie campaign may have rejected her interest in endorsing Bernie Sanders. So if that's true, I don't know, but if that's true, then that might explain a little bit better. Sarah X. Harkonnen says, do we even want Biden to beat Trump? with his cognitive decline, with his poor record, and as a shill to the corporate elite, is he even better? Totally fair question. I think it's a totally fair question. Totally fair question. Yeah. I'm not going to work to get Joe Biden elected. His campaign has been horrible. I mean, they've personally attacked me, personally lied about me. Terrible, terrible people. Ha! Loyal opposition is trying to get me to do weed now. Say, Matt, that used to happen to me. You got to take just one hit. Dude, I'll never forget it. Probably one of the worst experiences of my life. I had a lot of terrible experiences, but one of the worst experiences, fearful experiences, was I had an edible, and I was just like locked in some place. Like I just ended up on a bed and just like curled up. Like I couldn't speak. I could see the words that I wanted to say like form in my mind, but I couldn't speak. And like I thought I was gonna have like permanent brain damage, and it was really fucking scary. So yeah. So that's why I don't do drugs. Jeremy Chase says, how do you go from an unknown senator that nearly knocks off Hillary Clinton to a weaker campaign against a guy with dementia? Good question. Good question. Well, maybe could be the campaign manager, Faz Shakir. It is Faz, by the way, guys. He told me himself. Faz like jazz. So, yes, Faz. Maybe Faz just ran a weaker campaign. Strategy sucked. Also, really having all those candidates, you got to, I mean, truly, like all those candidates and all their efforts coming together, that was huge. That was huge. And obviously you didn't have that last time. You just had one. It was one-on-one last time for the majority of the election. And I think Bernie does well one-on-one typically. Because he's the kind of debater that, he's not going to say sensational stuff, as per se, as much like planned sensational stuff to generate buzz like Liz Warren, Kamala Harris, and others, Donald Trump even. But, he does like to talk about the issues. He likes a more debate or discussion-oriented debate. Longer form debate, and one-on-one makes that much easier, so he performs much better. When you got a crowded field, not so much. So that was a factor. So yeah, having many candidates in this one was a factor on many levels. Yeah, their comm team. I mean, it's just the videos. It kills me. Oh, and one thing I don't know if I touched on yet. Don't believe I have. But in addition to them not producing great content, when the potential was there. I mean, this is the first time in history you've had somebody. Well, this in the last election with Bernie Sanders. What makes it so amazing, or where the potential was so great, is because you had a 30, 40-year history documented in audio and video that you could pull up and show people. And the campaign did not take advantage of that whatsoever, which is so sad. So sad. Because, I mean, there's no better way to convince somebody something than to show them. All you had to do, well, not all you had to do, but how do you not make like the video of Bernie getting arrested? Just like, why do you like? How do you not have a video about that in the first fucking week when you know you've had an issue with black voters? Why don't you have a video of that on the first goddamn week, just focusing on that and all the black support that he does have? Why wouldn't you do that? It's just so obvious. There's just so many mistakes. Come on. It kills me. And again, the whole Iraq War stuff, like, that should have been on fucking week 1. Easy. Put all that archival footage of Bernie supporting the Iraq War and Biden against it. Like, this is just so obviously, like, the potential for video communications was so exciting, and there's so much potential. But this dude doesn't know. He's never made a fucking video in his life. I'm not making that up. This guy, head of creative director, head of digital communications, never made a video in his life. People told me he was literally trying to teach himself how to edit during the election. That's insane. How do you have a guy in charge of all the video editors who doesn't know how to fucking edit himself? What the fuck is it? Like, it's just so dumb. But apparently he's been with Bernie for a while, so they couldn't get rid of him. The guy... As a video guy, like, that frustrates me so much. And it also frustrates me knowing how long are we going to... How long is it going to be till we have another candidate where you got that much archival footage that you could just show people who he is? You don't have to tell people. Just show people who he is. You don't have to tell people. You don't just have to tell people, that the media's lying about him. You can show them that the media's lying about Bernie. When are we going to have another candidate like that? It's going to be another 30, 40 years, I think. That's the scary part. That's what's the most disturbing about this, is this was the opportunity of a lifetime. And as a video guy, it kills me that you had the opportunity to make such incredible content that's just eye-opening content. And they didn't do that. Their team sucked. The management, at least. At least. Oaken Hill Hermit says it seemed intentional. Yeah. I mean, I heard so many nightmare stories from people inside venting to me. Like I knew I would, and it hurts. And that's part of the reason why I backed out, like, without arguing, really. When they said they were afraid of the Twitter trolls who were lying about me and didn't give me more than an hour to write a response, when obviously I needed more time. When people are smearing you with, like, dozens of unfounded accusations, you need some time to put a response together. The campaign didn't give me any time. So that was a huge fail. How'd I get on this? I don't know. I guess I was just talking about how the campaign failed in many ways. I got it, Kinky. I finally got it. I found it. Let's see. Oh well, that's why I brought it up because, I mean they're like, yeah, I think the best thing might just be to, you know, for us not to work together, and I was already nervous as hell, having met how shitty the management was, and the creative department and the digital department. So like I was like, all right. I mean, and it's so obvious looking back now. I mean, I was already hesitating about joining, even though it was originally sounded like, the dream job. A fantasy, really sounded like a fantasy at first, but as soon as I got the gist of like how it was run, I was like, oy. And ultimately, what's most important to me, I'm one of those weird people. I am one of those weird people that cares most about creative freedom. And there's no way in hell any one of my videos, which people really like, they've proven to be effective, millions of views. There's no way they could have gotten made inside the Bernie Sanders campaign with that creative director and that digital communications director. Could never have gotten done. I mean, how amazing is it that, like, and it's just proven. It's proven. One, rising up, never would have gotten made. I told you, they wanted to edit it. Even after it had been proven to be successful, they wanted to chop it up into multiple. They wanted to chop up parts out, and they wanted to chop it up into tiny, smaller videos. Tiny little clips. There. That's incredible. That's insane. That's fucking insane. That's how poorly their strategy was. Two, how about that? Yeah, the recent video that got 1 million views, called God, what the hell did I call it? Basically the one Bernie versus Trump versus Biden. That never would have gotten made inside the Bernie Sanders campaign. I could never have made that inside the Bernie Sanders campaign. Nobody could make it inside the Bernie Sanders campaign. Because now that one, that wasn't just the video team, though. That one's on Bernie. Bernie would not go after Joe Biden. What else? Well, certainly in the same sense, yeah. I mean, had other incredibly viral video, an honest Joe Biden ad, where all I was doing was responding directly to the claims in an actual Joe Biden commercial. Never could have been made inside the campaign. Never could have gotten made inside the campaign. It's got like, I don't know, well over 500,000 views. Never could have made it. Again, without spending a cent, guys. Without spending a cent. Likewise, I got other videos. I mean, just regularly, my Bernie videos performed better than the Bernie videos that you had a whole team of people with a whole bunch of salaries making. That's insane, guys. That's insane. Oaken Hill Hermit says, "You're awesome, Matt. Thank you. They were trying for quantity over quality. A massive mistake, to be sure. No, they were going for quality too. They just didn't know what quality was. There are some exceptions, but overall, yeah. They had a lot of people making these videos. So it was not a matter of not having enough resources. They had so many resources. But just to go back, there's so much I want to say that I heard that I want to say, but maybe I will eventually. Oscar Santana says, too many careerist scum in the Bernie campaign. Well, that's just how it works. I mean, yeah, I mean, and it's a human thing, you want to keep a job, you want to keep a career. You're not going to speak out and say, damn it, Bernie, even though like most of them knew it. Most of them are just, they understand that Bernie needed to go after Biden stronger. They understood that it was completely counterproductive and, frankly, not accurate to say that Joe Biden can beat Donald Trump. Certainly counterproductive. We'll find out if it's accurate. I don't believe that was accurate. But certainly counterproductive. You don't make the case for your opponent. You make the case against your opponent. So anyway, so the people inside the campaign knew that was poor strategy. It was poor strategy to go so easy on your friend Joe Biden. Friends don't do that. Real friends, you don't do that. Friends don't let friends, become president after after killing 500,000 people. So, let's see. As much as I love Bernie, his refusal to attack any other candidate reeks of weakness, and it makes me unsure if he really was the best person to fight the establishment. Well, yes, and he was and he wasn't. He would fight the establishment by encouraging people, informing people and calling out the establishment in the form of the military-industrial complex, big pharma, big insurance, etc., etc. But he wouldn't call out the establishment in the form of the candidate that all those establishment forces endorsed with their super PAC money. Joe Biden. He wanted to stand up to the establishment. He wouldn't stand up to the establishment's candidate, though. Come on. He wanted to stand up against the military-industrial complex, but he wouldn't make a strong case about against the guy, Joe Biden, who just went along with the military-industrial complex to take us into the most costly counterproductive war in modern American history. Based on lies. Knowingly did it based on lies. I mean, Bernie, he did call it out. He pointed this out, that Biden's mistake on the Iraq War. He did that a lot. People, some people are criticizing him as if he didn't even do that. That's not true. He did it, but he didn't take it the step. He didn't do it that aggressively. Didn't make that strong a case. And the case he needed to make was, okay, because of that and X, Y, and Z, you should not be president of the United States. You will not beat Donald Trump with that record. He wouldn't take it to that step. Which is disappointing. And he could have and he didn't have to, he could have done it in his more Bernie-like fashion, where it's like, I don't believe you can defeat Donald Trump on a history of going to the Iraq War, advocating for cutting Social Security. It's writing the crime bill that has so many people in jail, got more people in jail than China, has in jail. I mean, you can't he just didn't make that because X, Y, and Z. You can't be. You're not the one to go against Trump. You're my friend, Joe, but you're not the one to go against Trump. You look like a white Abed. I don't know who or what that is. Kingy says, hang in there. There are young people just like you stepping up to the plate to fill Bernie's shoes and then some. The dream is too late for me, but it will happen for you. Don't give up. Please keep fighting. Wow, Kinky. Thank you for the support. Don't give up the dream yourself, Kinky. It can happen in your lifetime. It can happen in our lifetime. So please don't give up the dream yourself, Kinky. And yeah, we'll keep fighting. The fight I like that I like the best, that I want to fight the most is the media literacy fight. So maybe I'll focus more on that. History. I like history too. I think we could learn from history. So maybe more history videos. I don't know. Because I think media, it really all does. A lot of it does come down to media. I mean, after all, most people think that Joe Biden is great versus Trump because of the media. And the Joe Biden campaign propagating that message based on nothing. And then people hear that, they believe it. It reflects in the polls just because people were told it, they believe it. We need more critical viewers of media. We need more critical consumers of media. And well, on the subject of media, I think that's also aside from just their own media production, the Sanders campaign made a mistake to not fully utilize the independent media that is so powerful today. Bernie has spent his whole life complaining about the media, and rightfully so, about their unfair slant towards corporate America and establishment candidates. But all the time he's complaining about that, he never realized. I really don't think he realized. He's out of touch in this sense that the power, and unfortunately nobody on his campaign enlightened him. I wish we could have enlightened him. But the fact is, Bernie Sanders' rise was a result of the power, the awesome power of independent online media today. And if Bernie Sanders had harnessed that power that got him so close, impressively close, to going from a nobody, an unknown senator, to making so much progress against Hillary Clinton. If he had harnessed that independent media power going into 2020, throughout 2020, I think that would have made a really big difference. Really big difference. So many reasons. Now, there's the argument that, you got to go on. He had to go on cable news because that's where the old people are. And that's the old people are watching that. And it's old people who are voting mostly in this election and who are traditionally, historically more likely to get out and vote So that's the rationale for him going on the cable news. But that wasn't the only rationale. The other rationale was that's just what he's used to. And that's just what all the old advisors on his campaign are used to. That's where all their connections are. Their Rolodexes is all these media pundits in the mainstream media and the cable news. They're in the Bernie Sanders campaign Rolodex. That's just what they're used to. There were young people like Faz and others. Maybe they're just as out of touch. But unfortunately, nobody told them that, Bernie, old people watch online media too. Facebook is mostly older people nowadays. Old people know how to watch fucking YouTube too. And it's a huge audience. It's literally an unlimited audience. When he went on those cable news shows, yeah, there's a large old people following, watching it, but afterwards, often, nobody would see that material. And if they did, it would be edited, and often it was edited to make Bernie look not as great as he would otherwise. Whereas if he had gone on the independent online media, which in many cases has as much viewership, it also stays online indefinitely. So anybody can go see it. So young people can share it with the older generations if they're older the older members of their family and friends don't use YouTube. Somebody reached out to me on Facebook. They said, my 15-year-old just came home and told me I had to watch a video. It was your video. It was your honest Joe Biden ad video. Okay? Guys, that's the winning strategy. That would have been the winning strategy. And another reason, as we hit on, Bernie Sanders is very good. He wants to have a nuanced discussion. That's where he does best. Long form. He's not great with the short sound bites. Not as great. At getting media attention with sensational sound bites. That's what got Trump elected. Bernie Sanders wasn't so great. That's not his game. Online media, unlike the cable news media, which has very limited time, and Bernie Sanders has complained about this his whole life. He's complained about this since he was a goddamn mayor in Vermont. And nobody thought to explain to him, or never occurred to him, that online you don't have those restraints. You go on the Joe Rogan show, and yeah, he went on the Joe Rogan show once. Good for him. Once. There's so many outlets like that with huge followings where you can actually make a case, a long-form case, where he doesn't get restricted with the time limit of cable news. He's been complaining about that his whole goddamn career. I can go back to the archives. I see it all the time. He complains about how on cable news, one of the big problems with the media is that you can't really make a full argument. You got to learn how to talk in tiny little sound bites. Well, you don't have to do that anymore, Bernie. I wish somebody would just tell me you don't have to do that anymore. In fact, it's the online media that you can do this in now, where you can speak in long form now and reach everybody. This is actually the online media that's most favorable to you. They would have you on in a heartbeat, Bernie. We should be doing more of that, Bernie, instead of going on the cable news that is incredibly disrespectful to you and always misframes you and always paints you in a poor light. Like on The View, Whoopi Goldberg literally lying over and over, like that recent interview. It's where Whoopi was literally telling the audience, giving the audience the impression that Bernie Sanders, with Bernie Sanders right in front of her, she's giving the impression, she's lying to the audience that Bernie Sanders didn't support Hillary Clinton in 2016. He supported Hillary Clinton in 2016. And he told her, Whoopi, I rallied for Hillary Clinton in 2016. I endorsed her at the convention. And Whoopi said, well, how long did it take you? She did it right at the fucking convention. And Whoopi just whoop, whoop. Maybe that's why they call her Whoopi. She's like, whoop. Just any sense, any fucking facts, and right in her face, just whoop. So that's how Bernie Sanders was treated on cable news, cable media, but he just kept going back and getting abused and disrespected and misrepresented. That was a huge fucking stupid strategy. I got that out of my fucking system. I remember when I was in the Bernie Sanders campaign headquarters. So someone brings up, you're right, would not go on Jimmy Dore. It wasn't just Jimmy Dore. It was all the fucking tons of runners. But yeah, wouldn't go on Jimmy Dore. Who, by the way, was Bernie's biggest supporter in 2016, if you ask me. He was. Now you can't tell me if Bernie actually like returned some of, I don't know, like it's just it hurts. It hurts because Bernie could have won this. There's no question. There's no question. The potential was there. It's a bad strategy. So much bad strategy. Now again, I can't dismiss all the huge obstacles. Lots of obstacles. Very powerful institutions were all up against him, but things are changing. Online media is very powerful. It is what's it was responsible for Bernie's rise. Did they not get that? How can they not get that? And then not go, wow, maybe we should be working with independent media more. Instead of literally 99%. I have no doubt. I haven't done the number, but it's so obvious. 99% of the media appearances was on cable news. What are you doing, Bernie? What are you doing, man? Especially when all these other, the independent outlets, Kyle Kalinske fucking talked to him on the phone. He didn't even he was like, oh, you want to just call me while you're like driving or somewhere? Fine, just call me. All he needed to do was just call him up on the phone. He didn't even have to set up any kind of video thing, and they would have had him, and they would have promoted him. And there's nothing more to encourage your supporters more than, fucking, collaborating with them. My God, wow! But they didn't do that. They didn't do that. There are so many online shows with huge followings that he could have done this, where he could have done this. Podcast, YouTube. Unbelievable. And I'm not only talking about the pro Bernie network. There's these giant YouTube channels, just family vloggers even. They got millions of subscribers. And they don't normally talk about politics, but they're just normal families. And being normal families, they probably listen to the fucking dumbass cable news. And if they had an opportunity to speak to the Bernie Sanders campaign, if Bernie Sanders had an opportunity to really reach those people unfiltered, so it wasn't filtered through the bullshit of Whoopi Goldberg type interviews, then it would have gotten to people. But they didn't do that. That was so fucking dumb. Viking Tease says he went on the biggest podcast, Rogan. Yeah, he did once. How many times did he go on MSNBC? Yeah. Over 100. Seems like that. Probably 100, honestly. More than 100. I mean, maybe more than 100. I don't know. Everybody, I see some people giving Jimmy Dore shit. Now, Jimmy Dore is a friend of mine. I'm going to do the very no, but listen. When he sometimes he exaggerates so much and may mischaracterizes Bernie significantly, exaggerating. But as I said at another point, listen, what you don't understand is the bottom line is he was always urging Bernie to go harder. And that was Bernie's fatal flaw. One of the fatal flaws of his campaign was not going hard against Joe Biden, not going hard telling people that Joe Biden is a weak candidate against Donald Trump, that Bernie Sanders is a strong candidate against Donald Trump, while Joe Biden is a weak candidate against Donald Trump. That was Jimmy's biggest criticism. And what is the point of that criticism? It's to urge him to go harder. So, meanwhile, I'm not making this up. It's been reported in the Washington Post, and it's deeply disturbing. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders' top advisors were encouraging him to quit. What's more destructive? What's more destructive, guys? To have somebody on the outside who's urging you to go harder, or people on the inside who are literally urging you to quit? What's more destructive to the Bernie Sanders campaign? Huh. Irene Burns says, "Wait, Matt, you believe Washington Post? What the fuck?" Well, let's face it. I do not like the Washington Post for a number of reasons. One of them being that they uncritically led us into the fucking Iraq War based on lies, so fuck them. They've written lies about people I know, myself included. Verifiable lies. They're just like it. But you can't, like with any media source, no matter how ridiculous, no matter how trustworthy they are, no matter how untrustworthy they are, they can be truthful. They can be wrong, they can be right, and it's up to the reader to determine based on the information presented. It's like, is this legitimate or not? If it's all anonymous sources, if they're not actually sourcing anything, well, it's a good hint that it's may not be legitimate. If they're actually sourcing the people, in this case, the article I'm citing, they're naming names. Faz Shakir, campaign manager. Jeff Weezer, senior advisor, former campaign manager. They're naming names. That Faz and Weaver were urging Bernie to quit. And if that's your mindset, if your mindset is to urge Bernie to quit, then they weren't. I suspect they weren't urging Bernie to go harder. I don't know. Maybe they were urging Bernie to quit because they knew he would never go harder. Maybe that's possible too. And if you're not going to go harder versus Joe Biden, you can't win. If you don't make the case against your opponent, you can't win. not when everything else is stacked against you. Not when everyone is voting. So many people, most people, certainly older generations in particular, are voting based on wanting to get rid of Donald Trump. When that's people's main concern, whether it's rational or not, that's people's main concern. That is a huge majority of the Democratic voter base's top concern. And you're not going to make the case that you, and it's true, Bernie was the strongest candidate versus Donald Trump. It's provable. You just listen to Donald Trump. It was in secret recordings he admitted he was afraid of Bernie Sanders. Why did the Sanders campaign never make anything out of that? Why didn't they put that in the video? There's just still these obvious mistakes. Anyway. Yeah, Warren McNally. Yeah, it pisses me off too. But like I was saying, to be fair, if Bernie Sanders isn't going to attack, wasn't never going to attack Joe Biden, and by attack, I mean just make a strong, honest case that he ain't strong against Trump. He's weak against Trump. Because of X, Y, and Z. History lying. The Iraq War. These are all things that reasons Hillary lost. Support of trade deals that ship jobs overseas. That's partly the reason we don't have fucking masks. Medical masks in the United States. Because we don't make anything here anymore. Because Biden shipped all our jobs overseas with these job-killing trade deals. Yes, people will make the argument that, we got all these new service industry jobs. Well, we still don't make anything anymore here. And look, that's a problem when you need stuff. Sure, it would make me sleep better at night. What's more rational, to be able to make stuff on your own, or you want to have to depend on China? What would you rather do? Skyfox Sim Gamer says Democratic bill for bailout is not progressive. It is a $4 trillion bailout for the rich. That's another thing that I find really irritating. I mentioned how, we've done this before. We've done the top-down stimulus before. Yeah, the stock market recovered. Did regular people recover? Yes and no. My generation's still in incredible debt. Still making less than the last generation. So, no, I don't think that really helped. Didn't help the future. Helped the banks kick back. But what's so frustrating is you don't have to do that. It's so obvious. You could just give the money directly to the people. Why wouldn't you do that? It's so dumb. It's like, we want to give it to the big business so that it goes down to the people. What? Just give it to the people. What the hell are you doing? And nobody argued that. Nobody argued just straight up, let's get a fucking UBI. Let's get a universal basic income. People need that now. Meanwhile, Spain, they said they're going to start a coronavirus. That told them, we're going to implement a basic income. Yep. Spain says they're implementing a basic income. We didn't even have that discussion. We didn't even have that discussion. How can you sign a $4 trillion bill and not even have that discussion? $4 trillion. That's enough for over 2 years of UBI for every single adult American. What do you think would have been better? Would that not have been better? Every adult in America getting $1,000 a month? Just think about that. That's parents getting $2,000 if they're living together. That's families getting $2,000 every month for 2 years. Good goddamn, that would help. God damn. That's how much money $4 trillion is. UBI for every adult, about $2 trillion. And you don't have to cut out any social safety net for that either. About $2 trillion. That's insane, guys. How are we going to give out $4 trillion to institutions, to large institutions, when we could have just, then we don't know how that's going to get to people. That's the theory. It'll get to people. And we got the unemployment system. That's a fucking mess. That's not working. People can't get through. People can't get through. Why not just, if you're going to pass $4 trillion in stimulus money, that's 2 years of universal basic income for every single adult in America. That's what we should have done. There was no discussion. Why wasn't there a fucking discussion? What the fuck? Exactly. Dwayne McSorley says UBI goes directly to people to boost the economy. What do people do when they have money? They spend it. That's all you need to get a good, healthy economy. People spending money. That's it. And you don't have a healthy economy if you just got a few people spending money. You need regular people spending money. Rich people, they don't spend as much of their money as everyone else. They don't. So if you really want a healthy economy, give people money. Give everybody, everyday normal people money. And at a time with coronavirus, when so many people lost their fucking jobs, might be a good time to give people money. People need money. People say, oh, you can't afford it. You can't afford it. You can't give people money for nothing. We just gave $4 trillion out. Came out of nothing. People are getting it for nothing. Yeah, it's classic trickle-down economics, which doesn't work. Yep. Friedman House. It's hard for a service economy to work if no one is spending money. It's hard for any economy to work if no one is spending money. Hard for people to spend money when they don't have money. Irene Burns points out that new SNAP rules went into effect today. Is that the SNAP cuts from the Trump administration or something else? SNAP being food stamps. Hit me up with a question, guys. I'm answering questions or a request. If you got it. Otherwise, me just wrap this up. All right, guys. Wow, that was a lot of ranting. Sorry, it was kind of all over the place. But thanks for joining me. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the super chats. Any last thoughts? Going once? Going twice? 3 times. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully I'll be back soon with some quality videos. I've started some about Joe Biden. And now the chat starts coming in. All right. Well, thanks again, guys. Hell, I'll do a shameless plug for my Patreon. If you want to help me out on Patreon, please do. And hit me up with any with requests there also. I take requests. Okay. Peace, guys.